When I was in high school, my English teacher, Miss Hornbuckle, told me that I would never be able to communicate in the English language. That was no big deal because most of us Texas kids had an issue with the English language anyway. We almost had to lobby Congress to get the word ain't included into the Webster's dictionary. So began my slow and arduous path to publication. In 1971, I appeared for the first time on the stage. It was at the German American Club in Killeen, Texas, and I sang Mama Tried. Listening to my voice through the sound set for the first time was an epiphany. I thought, I just want to sound like that guy. I actually began writing in high school. I'd buy a 200-page Big Chief tablet and write until the tablet was full. Then I'd pass it around. My books became widely accepted because I wasn't writing in Miss Hornbuckle's English. I was writing in my English. My first tablet book was a series of short stories. There was no plan, just 5 or 10-page vignettes on anything that crossed my mind. I still remember all of them. My high school career ended when I wrote a book about a school bombing. Now, you must remember that this was 1968 and I was way ahead of my time. The story entailed a disgruntled student who took it upon himself to set a bomb off in the cafeteria to get even with all the girls who wouldn't date him. Very detailed, a little too detailed. My bomb would work. Here come the popo, I got it paddling, and they stole my book. From there, I turned to music. I was terrible. No substance. How do you write country music when you're still married to your first ex-wife? And then, of course, there was my accident where I was pinned in between two cars. And during my stay in the hospital, they gave me these wonderful shots. There was this male nurse who looked after me. He was a member of some soul group out of San Antonio. Soul is like rap, but you can understand the words and there's music. And one night after medication time, I wrote, "In a black and white world, I'm a full-color man." They cut the record, but being from Texas, only their mamas bothered to. All right. After that, and one or two more wives, I began to form substance. And I met this girl from New York, and after that, I really had substance. Right out of the blue one day, I wrote, Rogers taught me train songs, and Williams taught me blues. Don Curry taught me how to sing the pain out of my soul. Someone had to put it there, so I left that to you. Now singing out the pain's about the best thing that I do. And I sang out the pain about 3,000 times. I met up with John Brandt in 1981. I had a suitcase full of songs and began recording in a garage studio in Harker Heights, Texas. The local churches were the main customer for the studio, and as they gathered at the river, I quietly polished my skills in the back room. When the lights were about to be turned off, I convinced John to let me record something that I'd written. Since I couldn't afford a master tape, I just borrowed one from one of the churches, cut the filthiest little ditty you ever heard, mixed it down to a master cut, and erased the church's tape and called it a day. We began by striking out single song cassettes, and demand became so great that we had to send a copy to Nashville, and Bob Millsap remastered it for us, and we put out a 45 record. There was only about 200 struck, and later I found out about 3 million hit the underground market, and I strongly suspect I'd been pirated. A couple more wives down the road, I decided to walk off my steady job and try my luck in Nashville. I could write like Willie Nelson. Unfortunately for me, they already had a Willie Nelson, so my chances were rather slim, but I had an angle. During my excursions around Music Square, John and I had slipped into United Artists one night and cut an album containing 10 blasphemies and entitled Weird Wilbur Rides Again. I still had a problem though. Roy Acuff ruled the roost back then, and well, he was a religious nut and wouldn't let you distribute a record with the phrase "gosh darn" on it. Then two things happened. Roy died, and iTunes was born, which effectively put the wood to the Nashville establishment. Too late to help me, however. I had to return to Texas where I went into real estate. During this time, I wrote 3 books, wrote Sharon, Cigar Box, and Daub at Doe. They sold well under 1 million copies each. Time and tears went by, and the real estate worked, and me and my 6th wife, we bought 3 large houses, and then she left me. You can say anything you want about me, but you have to admit I am consistent. When a Yankee goes broke, he files bankruptcy, but when a Texan goes broke, he loses his ass, hat, and all his cattle. I found my way to California, and my son began to take me out to a place called Roxila Wells. It's kind of like in Death Valley. Not a lot to do out there, so I become a drunk. But while I drank, I thought, not coherently, mind you, but I did have a few moments of clarity. When I returned to Texas to live in my ex-wife number 6's garage, I penned a few articles on things in Texas. A miracle had occurred. I wrote some good stuff. For the life of me, I don't know where all this come from, but I suppose even the dumbest person can figure things out after about a half a century or so. One day the phone rang. On the other end was the amazing Doc Green. He was broadcasting out of something called Raging Elephants Radio, so I began to write an article a day for Doc. Now understand, I didn't know squat about Texas politics, but I had style. I could talk for a half hour and never say a thing, kind of like Congress. By and by, I learned. Then came the Damn Good Times newspaper, the Tea Party Tribune, the Liberty Beacon, and now RBN, and the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show with V and Will. And you'll never get rich doing this stuff. You guys gotta love it. Over the years, by hook or crook, I developed a technique communicating with people. Basically, I just tell them what they're already thinking, but they're just afraid to say. But I never forget who I really am. I always dance with them who brung me. I think I'll drop by the nursing home today and give Miss Hornbuckle a nice basket of prunes.